Here we go again.
Welcome back to Donuts in Space and part 6 of the USS Voyager build. Made a little bit of progress on this kit that I thought I'd share with you. We've got some work carried out to the B and C deck for this kit. I suddenly realised after I finished filming the last part that I could actually get all of the photo etch on for the front end, because it was more dependent on this particular part rather than the bridge section, which then led me to being able to get the styrene ribbon down on the B deck and then all the photo etch on the C deck. So that's all done. The photo etch that goes at the back here and also down there, I'm just going to leave that until the bridge is on, because that stuff really does depend on the bridge being in. I have also redone the photo etch on this side, and I'm a lot happier with the way that that's laying now than it was before. Also, because of the oppressive heat that we've been having in this country, I mean, it's not to other people, but certainly it is to us in the UK, because we're not used to this kind of heat. I mean, we've been having temperatures in sort of in the low 30s Celsius, and I think in Freedom Height for the Americans that is about 91, possibly 92 degrees in Freedom Height. So I've taken full advantage of that. Even though I hate the heat, I prefer -10, which I will go out in a fleece in -10 and feel quite perfectly normal. But what I did was I basically used good old Elmer's glue, because that dries fairly quickly. So I used that to stick the sensor bands down on these parts here. I let that dry, which in this heat took about 2.5 hours. I was then able to basically use the sensor band itself as a template and draw around in a pencil, and then I used my pin vise and just drill out all the holes. All that I need to do now is just basically go in there, I'll hog out the rest of the material, go in with a file, and then basically get that to the lines, and then every so often just keep on testing to see if I can get the sensor band in or not. I'm not going to go all the way to the lines and then try it, because sometimes that doesn't work. So I just, every now and again, once I've got close to the line, I'll pop it in and see if it'll go in without any problems. That's what she said. Yeah, I'll just keep on trying it until it actually goes in, and then that'll be done. Once I've got that done, I can then just basically go into the back and put some stock styrene in, really thin stock styrene, which will basically be used as the backing to keep the sensor band in. Once that's glued in, I'll then be able to get the sensors glued in. And then after that, really, the next job would be the little docking hatches on the side and the front. And then after that, it'll just be a case of spraying down the inside and then starting the photo etch for the windows, etc. And then I'll be on to the little rooms after that. So that's going to be about it at the moment. So as soon as I got some more work carried out on this wee beastie, I will come back to you. So we've finished work, well, we haven't quite finished working on the sensor bands, but we've got the housings all shaped and ready for the sensor bands to go in. What I have found actually is that because I've only used two strips of the styrene that are glued together, it's not quite thick enough for the sensor bands. When you put them in, they just absolutely fit flush, and they should be slightly inwards. So what I'm going to need to do is just cut out another section of styrene, and what I'll do is just basically fit it into that gap, and then just from the inside really just draw around the edges to make sure that we get the area, and then I can just cut that out with a knife. I'm not really going to go too mad with sanding and everything, because I don't see the point, because that's going to be hidden. And once I've got that in and glued in, that then put the sensor band slightly inwards, and then once that's done, then I can put the strip of styrene, the thin strip of styrene, just to make sure that they don't fall out, and it give the sensor bands something to glue to, basically, rather than just trying to rely on them sort of being glued to the edges. And then once that little bit of work's done, I'll then be able to temporarily fit the bottom of the hole on, so I can then get the markings for the sensor bands where the lips for this bit go. So these little lips here, I just need to well, basically file out of those gaps there so they can fit in. Not too worried if they're not too, if they're not spot on, because I can always just use a little bit of filler to fill in any gaps. Plus the fact we're going to have to do some filling anyway to cover the seam, and also the areas where the airlocks go. So I'm not too concerned with them being absolutely perfect, because there's no need to be. The putty will take care of any indiscretions along the way. So I'm just going to carry on, get that work done, and then once that's finished I will come back to you. Decided to change it up a bit. I was working on the sensor bands, and I got a bit bored of doing that, to be fair, because that's been taking quite a bit of time, and well, I just fancied a change, really, to be fair. I'll get back to those in a bit, and then hopefully in the next segment of this update they should be completed and I can show you those. But I decided to work on the rooms that are in the saucer section. I'm just going to do these section by section, really, to be fair. So I've got the ones for the saucer section completed, so the next lot is going to be for the engineering hull, and then I'll do the fantail last, because there's only one room there. These I've taken a little while to complete. I've been taking advantage of the hot weather, to be fair. I know you shouldn't really be painting in hot weather, but hey ho, never mind. It helps the paint dry, really. It really does help the paint dry quicker. I mean, at the moment it's, oh crikey, well, it's Sunday today, so, and the temperature out there is, let me have a look on my temperature thingy. So yeah, it's telling me that it is 35 degrees out there, so I think that's nearly 100 degrees in freedom height. I'm not sure, but somewhere around there I would imagine. It's blooming hot and I don't like it, but it helps the paint dry quicker. So I put all the paint in. I basically, some of the stuff that I have done is I've not really followed the colour palette properly for the Voyager, because it's all greys. It's all just different shades of grey, and with rooms at this scale, if it was to be grey on top of grey on top of grey on top of grey, you're not really going to be able to spot the differences between the different shades of grey. So I've kind of taken a little bit of artistic license into it, and I've, especially for the chairs, I've basically used a flat black, and the tables I've done in a gloss black to make them stand out a little bit more. And then the rest of it has been done in various shades of grey, which do differ from each other, and you can actually see quite nicely that they do differ from each other. Once I got all of the main colours on, like for the little beds here, we got one here, that was done in a tan colour, and then we got other rooms where the beds were done in like a kind of bluish grey, and then others that were done in either a blue or a royal blue colour. We put the pillars on there, etc. So when that all was done, we sprayed that down with a flat clear coat, and then we went over the tables with the gloss and also the can't remember what they're called now. They're food dispensers, but I can't remember what they're called. But there you go, never mind. It's the heat is killing my brain. So we've had a bit of fun doing those. It's taken a little while. It's taken, I think, about 2 solid days of working on those. But as I say, the heat's helped really, really well because it's enabled the paint to dry really quickly. We did have a little bit of an accident with 2 of the rooms, unfortunately. If I bring those into view, there we go. Yeah, we dropped the canister of airbrush cleaner on these 2 rooms, unfortunately. One of the problems that I do have because of my neck is that I do have arm spasms. My arm does go a little bit numb every now and again, and it doesn't really help because back in the 90s, I nearly chopped off my left index finger and damaged all the nerves in the process, so that finger's already numb. And then coupled with the numbness that I get from the issue that I have with my shoulder and the fact that I do have little spasms every now and again, yeah, I dropped the bloody can of airbrush cleaner on these 2 rooms, which broke some of the walls on them. I mean, you can see on this one, I think, if it's not too small, you can kind of see where it's broken. I managed to glue a little bit back on again, but that's as far as we got with that, unfortunately. But in some respects it's not too bad because these rooms are so tiny, you're not going to get a very good field of view on those anyway. So I'm not too bothered. I can just put those in. I just put a little bit of stock styrene on the side and glue it on with a little bit of super glue, and that'll be fine. Not too worried about those because, as I say, they're the 2 smallest rooms, and the field of view that you're going to get into those is going to be really, really small anyway. So I'm not too worried about those. So that's about it at the moment for this. I'm glad I got those done. It was pretty good fun doing those windows, actually, doing the little rooms actually. So I'm now going to get back to doing the sensor bands and get those finished off, and as soon as I've done that, I will come back to you. Now I've got quite a lot of work, quite a lot of photo etch work carried out to this wee beastie now. We've got all of the photo etch windows in place now, and we've also got the docking hatches in on that side, and also on that side and on the front. So they're all in. The only bits of photo etch that are left to attach to this now is the 2 bits that go down there and this here, which will be done when the bridge is put on. I need to replace that bit of styrene that come off there. Don't know where the hell that went to, but it was glued on, but it decided to come off for some silly reason. I don't know why. There is a little bit of putty work that needs to be done on this, but I'm not going to do that until such time that I've got the 2 halves together. I won't be putting any lights at all on the underside. I won't be putting any of the LED strips on the underside. They're not really needed, to be fair. I did notice that the first time I lit one of these, you just needed to put them on the second half, on the bottom half of this, and everything lit up really nicely. So all the windows are in. I don't know whether you saw those or not, but we've also got the windows in on the front there too. We've also got the floodlight in for the front as well, which is good. So that is almost finished. The putty work, etc., as I say, that will all be done in one go once everything's together. So that's done. The underside, all of the windows have gone into this as well, as you can see there. So that's looking pretty good. So the only thing that I need to do to the top and the bottom half of these now is spray them with matte white matte black to light block it, and then matte white over that to help spread the light around. And I believe the last time I done this, all I did was just put the LED tape around this section and that section, and I think I had a couple of strips down there, and if I remember rightly I put some down there as well. And I know this area here I put blue in there for the deflector array, so I'll be doing practically the same to that. One thing that I am going to need to do to this, because I was hoping that this bow would disappear, but it looks as though, well, I say it looks as though, it's definitely not going back to shape. I've tried fitting both sections together, and although yes, you can actually clamp it all down and get them looking reasonably level, the only problem is it causes a massive dip right there, and it just looks absolutely odd. And I think by the time you've actually put all of the other bits and pieces on, it's just going to really throw off how this ship looks. So I'm going to have to bite the bullet and use a heat gun on this to warm the plastic up sufficiently enough to be able to get this bit to actually sink back down, because this should just be completely flat all the way around, to be fair, and it's not. It's like curling up at the ends like winkle pickers do. So yeah, I'm going to have to do that. So that's going to be a bit of a squeaky bum time, I think, really, because if I screw that up, then I've basically screwed the whole kit up, which is not something I want to do. So I'm just going to have to be very gentle and very careful with the way that I do that. We've also got the start of some of the work done to the lower section. We've got the windows photo etching on both sides, so that's starting to look good. I say starting to, it's only just really started. The other things, I'm going to need to also spray these down as well, the matte black and the matte white as well, before I put these together, really, because otherwise it's going to make it a bit awkward to get in onto the curves or into all the curves. One thing I've actually noticed with this kit as well, this particular side has actually started to droop as well, so you kind of have to pick that up to put it in. That doesn't really bother me so much, actually, because that's going to actually force these two bits together a little bit more, which would be more of a help than a hindrance. So once these two halves are together, I am going to run a bead of epoxy resin right down that seam to help strengthen that up. I've also got the hole to drill for the stand. I've also got this hole. Oh, it's off stage, out of camera, shall I say. We're not at a theatre now, dear. So this hole needs to be filled in, so I'm just going to put a little bit of styrene over that, and then just basically fill it in from this side, really, to be fair. That's going to be the easiest way. And then once these two parts are together properly, I'll then be able to put all the strength back into it again by getting the all the details added back to this, sort of basically at the front, in the middle, and also at the back towards where the fan tail is as well. So hopefully that should look pretty good by the time that's done. That's going to be reasonably involving, but not too involving, to be fair. It's just one of those jobs that's quite fiddly more than anything else. It just takes a lot of time to do all the shapes and whatnot. We've also been working on the dorsal spine for the ship as well. So we've got the photon torpedo launchers in there. The good thing is with these is the fact that they do come, I'm not sure whether it's going to pick them up, hopefully you can, but you've got the holes basically in those, and then also they kind of correspond to the holes that are in there. So to light the rear torpedo launchers up, what I'm going to do is just basically put some microcrystal clear glue in these holes and then paint them red. And then if that doesn't look any good once everything's painted, I'll just put some more microcrystal clear glue in these holes and then paint them red, and then hopefully between the two that should actually give you a nice good shade of red on those. This is how much photo etch is left at the moment, which isn't a great deal. Some of this is for the underside of the engineering hull. Some of it is also for the pylons. So we can't really start using this until such time that the engineering hull is together, and then we can get all that photo etch on. This bit here, that is one of the thrusters. I've got the other three sitting in the box at the moment. So as soon as the two halves of the saucer section are together, I can actually get those sorted out. These bits here are for the impulse engines. Those bits there are for the underside of the engineering hull. And then these bits here are basically for the warp pylons. That's for the impulse, not the, yeah, the warp pylons. So they're for the impulse engines. These two or three bits there that are left, they're basically there for the deflector array, and then we got a few other little bits smattered about that for various other things. We're not doing too bad on photo etch, considering how much we did have to begin with. I mean, it's not a lot compared to the ship that I built a number of years ago. But yeah, it's good to actually be working with photo etch again. I do like it, to be fair. It does bring out a lot of details on the kit that otherwise wouldn't be seen properly. So yeah, that's those bits. I think I'm going to call it quits on this one now, because I think this is going to get a bit long. I am trying my hardest to keep these videos under 20 minutes. Sometimes that doesn't work, unfortunately. Sometimes it does. But I'm really trying to keep these under 20 minutes, because I don't think anybody really wants to listen to me rattle on for any longer than that, to be fair. So yeah, that's going to be about it, guys. So I will catch up with you in part 7, where hopefully we're going to really be starting to make some progress in getting this kit put together. So until then, guys, thanks for watching, and as always, please do take care.